Hi everyone. So I thought I'd do a quick introduction if you weren't here last week. So my name is Helena. I'm based in Ipswich and I'm a marketeer I've been working at arts and charities during my time since I've been in Ipswich. So I worked at Boydell and Brewer publishing company for about a year and a half as a marketing officer there. I then worked for about 5 years with Eastern Angles Theatre Company, running their social media, doing a redesign on the website, doing video editing, which I talked a little bit about before the meeting started. And currently I work at St Elizabeth Hospice as their Senior Marketing Communications Officer. So I've worked with social media professionally since about 2012 when I was at university. And that's my Twitter handle, which, you know, after tonight, you might all get a profile and then you can follow me. Excellent. Okay, let's crack on. So, computer, are you going to do that? There we go. So first of all, I'll be doing an overview of Twitter. So I'll just give you a brief history of the platform. And then what the hell is Twitter? What makes it different from Facebook? And then I'll be doing quite a bit on the terminology of Twitter, because that will inform how we set up a profile and how we tweet, which we'll be doing live, hopefully. Hopefully that will work. And then I'll be telling you about security and privacy of your profile and how you can change your settings, and then just some useful tips and tricks. There'll be quite an extensive overview of that. And then I'll give you a quick overview of Instagram, what it is, how it's developed, who uses it, how to set up a profile and how to post, how to hashtag, Instagram stories, and again, looking at security and privacy. And then we'll finally finish with a brief overview of social media platforms other than Twitter and Instagram. So let's crack on. So Twitter history, there's some of the logos that the platform has gone through. It was created by Jack Dorsey, Noah Glass, Biz Stone and Evan Williams in March 2006. And they're the four lads pictured on the screen just there. And they all worked at a company called Audio, which is a podcasting platform. And so Twitter actually originated from a day-long brainstorming session held by the board of that company. And Jack Dorsey, who's the guy on the very far left of that picture, he introduced an idea of an individual using an SMS service to communicate with a small group. So that was initially what it was, just very basic SMS. But then that was soon developed into the first Twitter prototype, and it was used internally within the company. And that picture just on the right-hand side is an initial concept that Jack put together for Twitter, which, if you know the platform, it's not, you know, it's got some of the structure there of what Twitter kind of looks like now with the status setting there. So the full version of it was introduced publicly in July of 2006, but its popularity really grew at a conference called South by Southwest Interactive. And it was there that during the event, Twitter was used extensively. They had like 2 big plasma screens of tweets going out and people at the conference using it for like 20,000 tweets per day to 60,000. So it kind of gained popularity, and then people started to really notice the platform. So I thought I'd just give you a few stats so you can see kind of where Twitter lies, especially after we talked about Facebook and how big that was last week. So it's huge. There's 330 million monthly active users and 145 million daily active users. So it's huge. The 63% of all Twitter users are between 35 and 65. So you won't necessarily find that younger age group on Twitter. It's more your middle-aged, older population. And interestingly, there's a bit more of a male split with the demographics on Twitter. So if you remember with Facebook, it was much more 50-50 split, whereas on Twitter, it's about 34-66. There's a lot of business to business marketing that happens on Twitter. About 75% of business to business market their products on Twitter. So it's really big for brands and businesses. There's 500 million tweets sent out per day, which is mental. And 40% of Twitter users carried out a purchase after seeing it on Twitter. So again, that shows very much how businesses are really important on Twitter as well and how they use that platform. So what the hell is Twitter? Before we begin, you need to actually understand what the hell it is. So I thought the definition from Wikipedia actually summed it up really nicely. So Twitter is an American microblogging and social networking service on which users post and interact with messages known as tweets. Registered users can post, like, retweet tweets, and I'll explain what all of those mean, but unregistered users can only read them. And Twitter kind of came from, it's a name really referring to small bursts of inconsequential information of chirps of birds. So that's why the name comes from. So it's just conversations happening. So I thought it'd be quite good to look at what makes it different and similar to Facebook. So very similar in terms of you post a status, which is called a tweet. So if you remember on Facebook, you can post status, you can add pictures and videos. You can do that on Twitter as well, although you're a bit limited, which I'll go into. And you can tag other users as well who are on the platform. But what makes it different to Facebook? So Facebook connects people, it connects you with friends, but people you know, but Twitter connects network ideas and conversation topics. It's easier to track live events and conversations on Twitter and news as well. And then that's through the use of hashtags. And I'll go into more detail about that later on. It's public facing. That is very different to Facebook. I mean, on Facebook, you can make your profile public, but on Twitter, all profiles are default, they're public. Anyone can view it unless you change it. And I'll tell you how you can do that later on. People are encouraged to follow rather than like, so it's just a different terminology. So you follow a page rather than liking a page. And one of the main kind of USPs of Twitter is that you're limited to a certain amount of characters on tweets. So originally, actually, it used to be 140 characters that you had. This then got extended a couple of years ago to 280 characters. So you can't post at all if you do too many words. So it's really about being concise with your tweets. And very interestingly, there's no editing on Twitter after you tweet. So if you miss a word or you say something wrong, you can't just go back and edit it like you can on Facebook. You have to completely delete your tweet and start again. So Twitter terminology. Let's go through this first, I think. There's quite a lot to get through on here, but once we kind of gone through all the different terms, it'll be a bit easier then when we go to tweet and I can show you the profile and all sorts. So here we go. So a tweet. A tweet is a status posted on the platform. You can add pictures, but they're limited to 4 pictures. It's not like Facebook where you can put up as many pictures as you want. It's limited. You can also upload video and you can add web links to your tweet as well, like a hyperlink. You can link to other accounts in a tweet, and that's through tagging, which I'll go through in a bit. And as I just said, you're limited to a set number of characters, which is 280, and you can't edit a tweet once it is sent. So it makes it quite interesting for this guy, Mr. Donald Trump, with his little tiny desk the other day. So he uses Twitter very interestingly. More often than not, actually, politicians are really using Twitter as a kind of a press release. And certainly for Donald Trump, he's really made that a thing. So yeah, a lot of people go to Twitter to find out what he's tweeting, what he's saying. And with no editing, you get gems like this. Why would Kim Jong-un insult me by calling me old when I would never call him short and fat? Oh, well, I try so hard to be his friend. Maybe someday that will happen. So, you know, you can't really edit that. He will post up anything. So yeah, he's quite an interesting person, obviously. Yeah, let's carry on. So I've just put this up here. We will do a bit of tweeting live a bit later, but I just thought I'd put these slides in to show you in case we share them later. So you can tweet from your profile or from like the main newsfeed page. So it's the same as Facebook as what we did before. Do you remember if you wanted to post, you could post from your profile or you could post on your home screen. So by doing that, you can see at the background here, I was on my own profile and I clicked tweet and then a pop-up box came up and I can tweet from here. And then this is what you'd see on a home screen. This is on desktop and you can tweet from here. On mobile, it's slightly different. And you'll get your feed of information here, but this will be the button. It's a nice quill for you to write your tweet. So what's a retweet? A retweet is a button to share someone else's post. It's so simple, and it just looks like that GIF just there. And when you retweet, it can be read as an endorsement if you're just retweeting it. But you can quote and retweet. So a quote and retweet is a way to prefix a shared tweet with your own thoughts. So I'll show you an example of that. So as you can see here, this is a quote retweet that I did when Sean Connery died. So on the background here, this is like the original tweet. So I clicked that retweet button, which is like this, and this pop out came up here, and you can quote and retweet. So you can write your own status and then retweet it, which is how it appears here. Or I could have like not bothered with that and just clicked retweet, and it would have appeared sort of like this post here where I retweeted John Sopel, and this is how it would appear on my profile. And also if other people were following me, it would say Helena Cornby retweeted. So that's a retweet in a nutshell. So a like, you probably saw on here, you can see the hearts there. So a like is again similar to Facebook. You're interacting with a tweet. A like can be seen as endorsing, agreeing and supporting a post. Sometimes likes can actually be seen by your followers in their feed. So it might just say so-and-so likes this, who you're following, and then you'd see a tweet from someone who you might not be following. So you get to see more content from the people that you follow. And you can unlike a post or unretweet at any time. So if you decide, actually, I don't want to have that on my feed, or I don't want to have that retweeted, you can just undo it. Another way to interact on a tweet is a reply, and you can reply to any tweet unless there are restrictions to the post. Excuse me. So if you tweet, you'll be able to control like who replies. So most of the time it will default to everyone can reply, but you can limit it if you want to. But you can reply on any tweet, and that means that you don't have to necessarily follow someone to then reply. So yeah, and then characters are still limited on a reply, just as you would with a tweet. And anyone who's tagged in a post on that tweet will be notified of your reply. So I've got an example here where Mike replied to me. So my tweet was "Let the addiction begin," and it was about Disney Plus. And then Mike, because Mike follows me, but he also might have just seen it through the hashtag, which I'll go on to in a second. He clicked the reply button, and he put "same in this house," and you can see I got tagged there because I posted about it. If I'd tagged Disney Plus, they would also have been tagged in that, and they would have got a notification. So another aspect of tweets is a thread. And a thread is a stream of tweets following one after the other usually on the same topic. It's quite good if you don't have enough characters for one tweet. So you'll be able to do like a stream of tweets one after the other. People often highlight if the post is a thread, normally at the end of a tweet saying a thread at the end of the post, or Twitter has actually started to put this show this thread if people have posted that way. So this was quite a funny tweet. So also it's worth noting, sometimes when you put up pictures on Twitter, they'll just cut off, so you just click on them and then they'll expand. So I told my daughter to grab her mask, so we went so we can go to the store. This is the mask she grabbed, which is awesome. But you can see when you clicked on "show us this thread," you can see that she's replied. Effectively, it looks like she's replied to her own tweet here. So she's kind of added a bit more information about the tweet there. Also, it's worth noting when if you see a tweet go viral and it gets a huge amount of likes, quite often people will go "since you're here," and then include a link to like their website or an endorsement of something that they're working on to kind of build on that traction. So you'll often kind of see that. As you can see, there's kind of a line to show that that's a threaded post. And another way to show a thread as well is sometimes people put like 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 2 to show how many tweets there are. But because of that new thread option, that's not so much needed anymore. So when you come to tweet, and I can show you this when we do a live tweet, you tweet as normal, and then there's like this plus sign, and that's how you can create a thread. So you can see I put "this is tweet for my first one," I click that plus sign, and then I did this one, but I could add another one if I wanted to. And you can go back and edit these at any point. So you can edit, I could go back and edit that one. And once I'm happy with that, then I go tweet all, and it will do it all in the correct order. And you can just post straight away. It used to be that you couldn't do that and you had to do it one at a time. So it's a lot easier. Hashtagging. I'm sure you've all heard about hashtags. So let's explain that. So hashtags are included in tweets. It creates a link to others using the hashtag and talking about a particular topic. So for instance, if you're watching a television program, you might often see that they start a program with like a hashtag, like hashtag I'm a celeb. And that will be people talking about a topic that they can search that hashtag and find out who else is talking about it. Using hashtag will definitely add more engagement to your tweets, which is what you want really. And most people use hashtags at the end of tweets or within the tweet itself. And I'll show an example of that in the next slide. For businesses, unique hashtags make it easier to track engagement. So on this side, let me show you. So for instance, the New Wolsey Theatre had, or they've got their like virtual panto this year for the Snow Queen. So that's their show name. So that could be quite unique. So they've put that in the body of the tweet itself. I've done the same when I was tweeting about election night. So a lot of people were talking about that. That was the main hashtag. So I put that at the end of my tweet. But I was putting, can someone make a Hamilton version musical of how the US electoral system works, please? Only musical numbers will help me understand. So I hashtag Hamilton because I was targeting like people who are interested in musicals. I thought anyone who's searching that might be interested in what I just said. Another example here is Visit Lancashire. So they had hashtag Lancashire Day on here. BBC Sport, this was for Man City Burnley match. So they used quite a few hashtags here. So they obviously wanted to use their official BBC football one. So that's like a unique hashtag for them. But these hashtags are more for like general conversation of that particular match that they want to tag. And then I put in this Oxfam online shop example because this is quite interesting of how they really use it in a sentence. So we're proud to stock a range of hashtag fair trade, hashtag Christmas cards. They've kind of put it really into their sentence, and it's a way of making good use of your characters, because you could just do the normal sentence here, but actually they then want to hashtag Christmas cards. You don't want to keep repeating it, so it's kind of better to actually put it in the body of the tweet. So what happens when you go on a hashtag? So let's have a look at Lancashire Day. So then if you clicked on that, you'd then be taken to this page, which goes to like the Explore page on Twitter. And you can see who's tweeting about Lancashire Day because they're using the hashtag. And you can see that here in these ones. So if I wanted to, I could see like the top ones by clicking the top, and top means like the most engaged. So you can see these numbers are quite high. So that's why they're top of the list. But then if I wanted to go and look at the very latest, like it's like, you know, what's happening right now, going on latest will show you the very latest of when people are using the hashtag. So it's a good way to track what's going on. So this links all to trending topics, which is a term you might have heard of. Trending topics show the most popular topics being tweeted at a particular moment in time. They can either be from a hashtag or a phrase that's just used in a multiple amount of tweets. I'll show an example in a second. And there's no actual number on how many tweets you need to be trending. It could be that they can be like 500 tweets and it can trend, or 5,000. There's no set number. So yeah, it just depends on, I think, the rate of what people are talking about. So how do you look at trending topics? So this was on Saturday afternoon, as you can see, because most of the trending topics are football. So this is on like the homepage. So you can either go to trending topics by clicking this hashtag explore button, or you can see in a snapshot what's trending here, and you can go on show more to find out a bit more about what's trending. So if we then do that, we then come onto this page. Now, this will show you what is trending, and these tabs at the top are relatively new. I think they've been in about maybe a year or two now. The For You tab is a bit more tailored to news that you might be interested in or things that are coming up. So it's quite a good way of just finding out what you're interested in. It kind of comes from follows and, like I said, the news and what's happening at the moment. But then if you click on trending, that's really where you're going to see the trending topics. So I said before, topics can trend either with a hashtag or from a phrase itself. So as you can see, some of these have hashtags because people have been using them. There are some, which are Moraes and Klopp, where they haven't got hashtags because so many people are tweeting just with that phrase or name that it then starts to trend. So if I show you, I then clicked on Klopp. And as you can see, it's just appearing in a few sentences here, and that's how it starts to trend as well. So there's like different avenues of trending that you can see there. And again, these are the top trends. And if I wanted to, I could click on latest to see the very latest of what people are saying. It's quite useful, say, I know we've got some Americans on the line today, so you can change the location of your trending topics to another country. So if you look back here, you can see I've got the United Kingdom trends. You could change that to any country if you were interested in what's trending in the States. So you just do that by clicking on the cog, and the cog will then take you through to various locations that you can change. So what is a follow? A follow is the same as a like on a Facebook page. You're following content from your favorite celebrities, brands, influencers, friends, businesses, you name it, there's probably a Twitter page for it. You can interact with any post. So even if you don't follow them, you can like or retweet, and vice versa as well. So say you were tweeting and you got a like buzz from someone that you didn't follow, that can happen. And that might happen if you're hashtagging correctly, because you might be using a hashtag from around the world and someone sees a tweet and they like it. You can search for profiles in the search bar, quite similar to Facebook, just by typing a name. And I'll show you a bit more of how you can do that. Twitter will suggest follows. So that will be based on who you're already following, topics that you're interested in when you set up your account, but also who other people are following that you follow, if that makes sense. And on a profile, you can see if anyone you're following is already following this profile. I realise that might be a bit complicated, but I'll show you in the next slide what that means. And a blue tick is a verified account. This is kind of where the blue tick name kind of came from with Twitter. It's particularly used for high profile names and large followings and large businesses. So this was CNN's page. So I don't follow them, but I can see like who else follows them and these people that I follow. So I can then kind of verify, oh, maybe I do want to follow them. And this is the blue tick here. So I know that they're a verified account. These are the top 4 profiles with the most followers. As you can see, they're very large. And even with people that I follow, I can still see who else is following them. So we've got Katy Perry, Barack Obama, Justin Bieber and Rihanna, some of the big profile names that are on Twitter. What's a Twitter feed? So a Twitter feed is where you see tweets and retweets from your follows. You might see paid promoted posts from large businesses that appear here. On Facebook, you'll probably see a more varied variety of advertising content from lots of small different businesses, but on Twitter, it tends to be much larger businesses. Sometimes with trending topics, you might see a hashtag trend right at the top, but it will be a promoted one. And normally very big companies will pay a lot of money for those kind of slots. As you scroll on your news feed, on your Twitter feed, sorry, more tweets will load up. On mobile, it's slightly different. You still scroll, but you might see a banner at the top of the page that will load more tweets. But really, it's the home button that will show you when there are new tweets. And that home button then has a dot at the top, like here. Alternatively, you can just click refresh or just drag from the top of your screen when you're on your mobile. So this is what a Twitter feed looks like. On the right-hand side is that banner that I talked about. And you click on that and it will load up more tweets. I'll go on to this little top bar here much later on. It's linked to Instagram. This is a new feature that happened literally 2 weeks ago, so I'll talk about that a bit later. But yeah, on the left-hand side, this is a desktop feed. So I've kind of included actually 3 different types of posts, so you can kind of see the variety here. So I follow Payne's Pal, they're a theatre company, and they did a quote retweet, which we talked about earlier. So they retweeted the Women's Prize for Playwriting, and then they prefixed it with their own text. This is just a regular tweet with a picture from my theatre mates. And then Mark Ruffalo is the person I follow. I don't follow Paul at all, but I follow Mark Ruffalo, and I can see he retweeted this tweet, so that's why that's appeared in my feed. And also on mobile, just I thought it would be useful to add. So as you can see on here, I've got the home button there, and you're probably wondering, how do I get to my profile? Well, you can just click on the burger menu at the top, and it will take you through to your profile, and you'll be able to get your notifications from here too. Direct messages. And so direct messages are referred to as DMs. They're private messages, so no one from the public can see them. You have to follow each other to send a message though. Your settings can be changed if you want people to message you who aren't following you, but as a rule, you have to follow each other to then send a message so you don't get spammed, basically. Businesses will often use this if they want to get in contact with you. If they say on a tweet, oh, send us a DM and we'll get those details over to you. And that's where the slide into my DMs phrase comes from, because people use that to then privately message people to get in contact with them. So if you've heard of that phrase, that's where that kind of stems from. So as you can see here, I follow Katy Perry, but I can't private message her. I don't have an icon to do that. But Mike, I follow him and he follows me. So therefore, that's why this icon appears here. So I can private message Mike if I wanted to. So on desktop and on mobile, to message somebody, you can either go on their profile and click that button and a pop-up will come up to send a message, or you can go on your desktop and you can just click the messages button here, or there's a little pop-up that happens on a desktop there as well. And on mobile, it's just this envelope icon there too. So tagging or at an account. Like Facebook, tagging helps engagement, and very much like Facebook, you're tagging anyone that has a profile as well. So you can tag anyone that has a profile in a tweet, and that's the kind of common practice. If you're naming someone, check they're on Twitter first, because they'll want to be tagged in it. It's very, very vital that you make sure you have the correct tag. You want to be tagging the correct account. Like I said before, you can't edit your tweet. So if you get it wrong, you might have to delete it and then do it again. So this is quite important, and I'll give an example of it in the next slide. So if you use the @ sign at the beginning, which is tagging, if you tag someone at the beginning of a tweet, it is a way to direct message someone publicly. Like the name of this whole presentation is called Don't @ Me. So quite often if someone says something controversial, they say don't @ me, that will mean that they're kind of talking to someone publicly. But if you put that @ sign at the beginning of a tweet, your followers won't see it unless they follow that account. So I'll show an example on the next slide that'll explain it a bit more. But if you do start your tweet with a tag, the common practice is to put a full stop in front of it so your followers will see it. So let me show you this. So this one here, the one that I tweeted a few days back, I publicly DM'd the DPD group because I got a dodgy email from some spam saying that they were DPD when they weren't. So I wanted to let them know about it. So what I did was I just clicked, I found their correct profile, first of all, a verified profile. And I then @tweeted them, and none of my followers would have seen this unless they followed DPD. This one, on the other hand, which was on my feed earlier, as you can see, they do start with a tag, but they've used this full stop here, and they're announcing a cast of a show. So if they hadn't have put that full stop there, they would have just done an @reply, as it were, to Rachel Tucker, and none of their followers would have seen it unless they followed Rachel, if that makes sense. So if you want to start with a tag, always start with a full stop first. That's the common practice. Like I said before, it's vital that you get the right tag, the right account. This is a notorious example, and I highly recommend that you follow John Lewis on Twitter. So when John Lewis started on Twitter and started putting out their Christmas adverts, a lot of people would complain or tag this guy, John Lewis, instead of the retail store. And he's absolutely brilliant. He replies to people going, "Oh, I think you mean this store, you don't mean me." And he's incredibly funny, so much so that he actually got a blue tick because so many people started following him because he was really quite funny. So it just shows that it's really important to tag the right people. So the actual John Lewis profile is JL and Partners. So the way that you would try and find the right profile is through the search bar. Yes,
Helena.
Hello.
I'm just gonna butt in.
Yeah.
I've had to mute an account because they're an Italian radio station, I believe, and they consistently insist on sending out tweets, which is basically my username dot something else.
Oh no.
Which doesn't work because you can't. I assume they've got somebody's email address and think that's a valid tag. So I've had to mute them because every time they send out a tweet, they send out at Saranac dot whatever it is, and of course it only tags at Saranac, and I get flagged. So I've had to mute them because yes, they're wrong, and I've tweeted them and said,
yeah,
I don't know who you're tweeting, but it's not me, right? You know, Twitter doesn't recognize full stops. You're wrong. Can you stop doing it?
That's not good.
And another friend of mine is Kelly Gamont from the Mac Observer, and her handle is @Verso. And for some reason, people endlessly use @Verso when they're talking about books, because obviously @Verso is a book thing.
Yeah.
But that's not a handle. And she often have to reply, I don't know who you think you're tweeting to, but it's not me.
Yeah, this is it, like exactly why you should always check the correct tag, and you're doing the right thing as well with like muting that particular account as well. And I'll come on to meeting for the rest of you guys a bit later on as well. But yeah, that's a good idea. But yeah, I think always, because it's a public forum, you can just at them, like say, and just say you've got the wrong person. But yeah, you can, if you shouldn't have to, but you can change your username if you wanted to. But you know, it's your username, you probably want to keep it. But yeah.
I kind of grabbed my username very, very early on. I've got quite a low number, even though I didn't actually use Twitter for several years after that. Until I got into podcasting. But yeah, I'm not changing. I grabbed my username very early on.
Yeah, I'd keep it. Like, you know, it's yours, and it's your original
it's mine,
one.
And it's my handle everywhere, and I'm not giving it up.
And it's the same as that John Lewis guy. I know that he doesn't want to give that up. You know, why should he? Yeah.
What they really, they should be, you know, John Lewis partnership or something. But whatever.
Exactly. So yeah, so the way that if you want to search for any profile, if you want to follow them or if you want to tag them, all you have to do is you just go to your home button, and there'll be a search bar up on the top right hand side, or you can go on explore, and you just type in the name, and then you just change the tab to people. So if you click top, it would just come up with all the tweets that are mentioning John Lewis. Same with the latest. So these are your trending topics. But if you put in people, it will then come up with the relevant people. Okay. So setting up a profile. So sorry.
I'm just going to say the other thing with that is, it's surprising sometimes how quite big companies, I guess they thought they were being clever early on, and they've grabbed handles which a bit like domain names. You know, B&Q had DIY.com or something. And they no doubt thought that was really, really clever, but actually it backfired on them. So you will often find sometimes people have got strange handles that don't make any sense.
It can be a bit odd, definitely. Brilliant, cool. So let's have a look at setting up a profile. So very excitingly, I actually have made a Mac user group Twitter account, which I'll probably hand over to Mike after this, which you can use if you want. So this is how you create an account. So it's really, really simple. For a start, it's free, just like Facebook, just like most other social network platforms. All you need is your name. So you can put in your own name or the name that you want to have for your account, but you can change this later, so don't worry about that. Excuse me. You then put in your email address. You can use your phone, but I'm always much more inclined to use your email address. And then your date of birth, and that's just to kind of verify that you're the right age, whether you're using your account like it says for a business, a pet, or something else. So you put that information in. And then it asks you about customizing your experience. I didn't tick any of these boxes personally, because we can always change that. So it's just about kind of personalizing ads, connecting with people you know through email address, which I haven't bothered doing, and receiving emails about Twitter activity and recommendations. That can be quite good if you're starting out on a new account and you're just trying to learn the ropes of it. I would probably tick that box if I was you. And yeah, you'll get an email whenever someone mentions you, you get a like or anything like that. So after you've done that, this is where you kind of do more of your username, your email and your date of birth, just all confirmed there, and you sign up. And then you get your verification code, you put that in, and then you make your password, and then you're good to go. So here you can then start to personalize your profile. You don't have to do this here. As you can see, there is a right-hand button up there that says skip for now. But here you can put in your profile picture, like Facebook, it can represent you, or it could be your business, or whatever purpose you want for Twitter. It's worth saying, actually, with Twitter, you can have different profiles. It's not like Facebook because it's very personalized to you. You can have your own personal one, you can have a business one, you can have like a character one. So there's lots of uses for Twitter. Your bio is more about describing yourself. It might be what you might be tweeting about or about your business, that kind of thing. But like I say, you can skip that, which I did at this point. Then it will take you to what you're interested in. So this will help tailor your Twitter experience with people who you're going to follow and things that you might be interested in. So you remember on the trending topics, it had For You. If you select certain things from there, it will tailor a bit more of the newsfeed to what you're interested in. So for this particular account, I put about science and technology, creators, television, movies, gaming, business. And these are just automatically generated by Twitter on those two images just here. But then you can also search for interests. So if there's a particular interest you've got that's quite specific, so I put in Apple here, you can then start to search and you can find some topics that you're interested in. And then it'll then start to suggest people that you can follow. And from here, you can start to click follows. But again, you don't have to do that here. You can just click next and sort that out later if you prefer. And then you can turn on your notifications. So you'll always get a notification if someone replies to your tweet, if someone retweets you, if someone likes a tweet. And occasionally you might get news alerts that come through now and again, and it just kind of tells you about trending topics that are happening, but I think you can turn that one off if you prefer. But you just allow notifications, and then this is what the profile looks like, very initially, very blank. So you can edit your profile just by clicking here. Oh, yes. Oh, wait a minute. Oh yeah, I know what I was doing next, sorry. Yeah, so you can edit here, or I want to change our username. So it was more Suffolk Mac user group. So what I did was I went on more, and then I went to the settings button. And this is where you can change your account information. So you just click through here. It will ask you to like confirm your password whenever you kind of do these kind of things. So there's an extra security level. So it's not just if someone hacks into your account, they can then see everything. They have to then like get your password. But anyway, here you can change your username. As you can see, Suffolk Mug's okay, I think, but they've given extra suggestions if we wanted to use that. So you can change it here, which is what I did. So now it appears as Suffolk Mug. And then I clicked on edit profile, and here is where you can make it a bit more personal. So on edit profile, if you've changed your picture, you can change it here, and the cover photo, which is very much like Facebook. And you can change your name. So your tag is what will appear in people's tweets, but then this will tell you a bit more about the profile. So it's like, well, I'm sorry, who just talked earlier, I can't remember your name, but you know, if you've got your tag there, that might be completely different than your actual name.
Helena, I just like to say the at
yes
tag that you take is fixed, all right? That's tied to your account. So it's actually quite important that you choose that quite carefully.
It is, definitely.
Because
and you're right, and it's the same as what you were saying actually earlier, is, you know, if you change that, then a lot of your tweets would probably become redundant, like they wouldn't.
But your display name, right, your display name can be changed all the time. For example, my daughter and a lot of her friends, they're like 16 to 20 years old, and they constantly change their display names. My daughter, like over the last week, has had like, you know, Ruth is fascinated by Mars. Ruth is the queen of Mars. You know, Ruth is in love with young blood. Blah blah blah. She changes her display name probably every 2 or 3 days.
Yeah.
But her at obviously it is fixed, right? Yeah. Her at is, well, I won't give it out, but her at is that tags her account. That's how you find her.
Yeah.
And that she can change her display name, and people do it all the time. For example, at Halloween.
Yeah, I was just about to say this. Yeah.
At Halloween, people do this thing where they'll change their name from, I don't know, you know, whatever. I don't know. There might be, you know, Mike Galloway. It would be Mike hanging on the gallows, or, you know, Kelly Gamont changes hers to things like Skelly Gamont, or
you know, so it's on a theme.
Scully Gamont. There's a thing, and then at Christmas people change their names. There's a whole host of, you know, and then they have Star Wars Day, and people make all, and there's a whole thing that goes on with your display name.
Yeah.
Which can be changed at any time, which is, you know, people do for.
Yeah,
you know.
And that's what I would recommend. If there's any change that you want to make with a name, you do it on your display name rather than your tag. And just as we were just saying, like, because any previous tweets that you've done won't then tag that account correctly. So yeah, you're right. You want to kind of keep it as close to what you want as possible. So yeah, in that edit profile, this is where you can edit various bits of information, I think.
Well, then I have a quick question.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, Mitch.
Hi. Where was it that you pulled up the topics that you might like? I can't seem to get into there.
Yeah, that's all right. So that's when you sign up. So that's directly when you sign up for an account. So this is after you've put in like your profile picture and cover picture.
You can't go back and change those areas you might like to see.
I think you can change the settings. So there'll be an interests part of it, and I think it's in the privacy settings, where you can change that. I think I go on to it a bit later actually. But yeah, I think it's within that you can change it.
All right, fine. I'll go and browse around for that. Thank you.
That's all right. Okay, so in this edit profile, as you can see, I've changed the name to the Suffolk Map User Group. I've then taken the bio from the website, which I've pasted into here. As you can see, the characters are limited again, so you need to keep it short and snappy. I've added a location. Again, you don't need to add your location if you don't want to. It's completely up to you. That might be an extra security thing if you've got a personal profile that you might not want to have because it's public. And then a website so that you can have that to link, and then you just click save, and then this is how your profile will appear. I've just put some generic images here that can be changed, and this is how it appears if someone then tried to find you. This is what they would see, and as you can see, it's already started to suggest people that we can follow.
Helena,
yes, hello.
One thing I'd say is, it's actually quite a good idea to be really quite vague about where you are location wise. You know, mention a town, a county, a vague area. And also on the latest Mac OS and iOS, in location services, you can allow Twitter to track your location, but there's now an option to use not a specific location, which means it randomizes your location within a sort of a 2-kilometer circle.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is, I know for most of us probably isn't a terrible worry, but, if you're a government minister, you might want to have tweets, Twitter know that you're in Yorkshire, but you don't want it to know that you're in, I don't know, North Street.
Yeah, somewhere very specific.
In Huddersfield or whatever it is. I don't know. So that's a new thing in Mac and iOS, but with many of these, I know I have my tinfoil hat on, but in anything, related to social media, it's not a good idea to give away too much information. You can say you live in Ipswich or you live in Suffolk. You'll find a lot of Americans now limit to where they are to. I live in Virginia or Utah or somewhere in Boulder.
I think it's always worth remembering how Twitter is a public domain, public profile, isn't it? Really, and that's the real difference between this and Facebook. With Facebook, you can really
the same thing applies to Facebook. Really, don't give away too much info.
Yeah. But that can all be changed in like privacy settings, which I'll come on to.
But the trouble is with a lot of them, the privacy settings by default are show everything to everybody. So it's often wise to be a little cautious.
Definitely.
Somebody, one of them said, "What's your age?" I just put over.
Simon, I'm sorry. I don't want to sound rude, but Helena's got a hell of a lot to get through tonight. Can we?
All right, sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Cheers.
No problem. Okay, so we're actually going to do a bit of tweeting live. So I'm hoping that this might work. Can you still see my screen, or is it still on my presentation, Mike?
I can see your PowerPoint presentation at the moment.
Okay, that's fine. I will change this. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to change it to my internet so then we can go on here. There we go. So now this is live on Twitter. Hopefully you can all see that now, Mike. Yeah?
Yep.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
So as I said before, you can tweet from your profile or you can tweet from home. So if I click on this button, it will then come up with a pop-up, and this is where you can tweet, and I'll just show you the home page. There's a couple of people that I started following on this account, but you can tweet from here too. So we'll go on the profile and tweet. So there's various things you can do. So as you start typing, you can see that there's a little kind of circle cog, I guess. And as I start typing various words and bits and bobs, and if I just like literally do this, you'll see it starts filling up. And this is where it will kind of tell me that I've used too many characters and I need to stop. So then it will start to go, oh, here you go, you've got so many. And as you can see, I can still tweet, and now I can't. So then it will tell me, oh, I need to cut that down. So when you're doing a bigger tweet, you'll then see that you need to adapt that. This is also where you can see that plus sign for the thread. So this is, oh, dear me, this is my first, oh God, I'm living keyboard pressure. This is my first Twitter or whatever. So you click plus, and then you can do your other tweet here, and you can add another one, and you can go back, which is what I was saying before. So I can change that, and I can get rid of it. And I'll just discard that and start again. So there's things you can add. So you can add a picture to your tweet, just as you would on Facebook. GIF. I don't know if many of you use GIFs at all, but these are like moving images. They're quite fun. People use them a lot for comedy. On Twitter, they group them into different areas. So it might be that you want to go for like a nice dancey one. So we might click on Lisa Simpson and be like, this is my first tweet. And then you can use that, and then it would appear and you'd have a lovely GIF there. So you can add that. This one is a poll. So this is quite fun if you want to ask a question. So it might be like when you if you start to use this account, you might be like, oh, like what topics do you want to hear about. And then you can put, I want to hear about Photoshop, or I want to hear about Twitter. And then you can put however many days you want to have it on for. You can add more options. And then you can just tweet it. And then anyone who's following you, so I'll tweet this, but I'll delete it after. So I could tweet that. As I tweet it here, you can see that then if I had a person following, they could click on it and they could then click on their particular choice, and then I can find out the votes afterwards. So that's quite fun if you want to, if you've got quite a bit of a following. This is just for emojis. So obviously this is a bit easier if you're on mobile, because you can just add emojis anyway, but you can add them on desktop here. And then this button is scheduling, which I'll go on to a bit later as well when I talk about tips and tricks. As you can see, so if we just do hello to Twitter, we've got the settings at the moment that everyone can reply, which is the default for Twitter because it's a public forum, but you can change it. So you could just have it to people you follow, for the 4 people that we're following, or if we mentioned somebody, then they could reply to it too, but normally it's on everyone. And to tag, you just do the @ sign as you normally would, and then you can just type in an account, and then they'll come up and you'll see the verified accounts here. But sometimes it might be that you want to go on a new tab to find an account to make sure that you're tagging the correct account before doing this. So if I then tagged BBC News, because obviously they want to know that we're tweeting because we've got such a big following, they would get a notification that they're part of this tweet. So we can just do hello to Twitter, and once you're happy with it, make sure you proofread it. You can't edit it, you'll have to delete it otherwise, and you just click tweet. And then it will just place itself here. And then anyone who's following us, I can see we've got 1 follower. Hey, it's Steve, excellent. So if Steve is feeling adventurous, he can click a like or a retweet as well. As you can see, we've got notifications. So this is like with Facebook where you have that bell for your notifications. You click here. And yes, I can see that Steve has followed us, and I can click on his profile, then I can have a look at who he is, what he's doing. I was based at Twitch, yeah, cool. Oh, he's followed by me, brilliant. I'm going to follow him back. And now we can message each other. Another thing that's quite useful, if there's a particular profile that you're really interested in with particular tweets, this button here will give you alerts to when they tweet. So if I clicked on this, that would mean that any time Steve tweets, I'll get a notification that Steve has tweeted. So that's quite useful if you're following a particular subject, particular person, and you want to keep up to date with what's going on. So that's how you tweet. It's really, really simple. You can just click on the tweet and any replies will come up. You can like your own status if you really want, but no one really does that. I'll come on to Twitter activity in a bit, but really this is where you can see engagements, but I'll come on to that a bit later. So yeah, that's how you tweet really. I'll hand this over to Mike at the end of this. I'll send you the details and I'll change the email so it's to you. So you can start to use it, Mike, if you like. Completely up to you.
Yeah, we probably don't have a Twitter account, so that makes perfect sense. And thank you very much.
No problem. And you can add it to your website. Quite often websites will have a place to add social links. So then you could have like an icon for Twitter and it can be added. Thank you. Yeah, so we can like and we can reply and say thank you. We can even just say thank you. I mean, we are replying to Steve anyway, but we can tag him again. Thank you. And then if we wanted to, we could add an emoji like that. Reply. And then we can see it here in our little stream. So that's how that works. So it's very public and yeah, really easy to use. So I can show you what's trending at the moment if we just click on here. So this is like the trending topics that we talked about. So quite often there'll be TV programs, politics, that kind of thing. But this is quite often where you'll find news stories that will break before they necessarily get on to news outlets. Quite often I find out the news through Twitter. Again, this was the sign for I've got some more tweets uploaded. So great, I go on to home. and I can see some more tweets, and you just scroll through and you can see there's already suggested people. I'm going to follow Mike. So yeah. Right, I'll get back to my presentation screen. So that's essentially how you tweet live. So, security and privacy. So there's lots of various settings with Twitter, and they're very good actually about explaining all the different sides of security and privacy. So I definitely recommend having a bit of a search through of each tab, but I'll go through essentially what each one does. So you just go through to settings and privacy, and you've got your security and account access. You can manage your authentication for when you log in. So you can add additional password protection, and you can get more information for when you reset your password. So you, add an extra layer to your security. So the main things that you can do with like privacy and safety is mainly on your activity. So you can manage tags on photos. So when you post a photo, you can actually just tag a photograph. You don't have to put a tag within the tweet. So you can manage whether you get tagged in photographs. You can decide to actually never have a tag in a photograph if you so wish. You can make your account private. I do know some people that have private accounts. One of my friends is a teacher. She just likes to follow things on Twitter, but she doesn't really tweet herself. So she made her account private, and you can do that here too. But you'll receive a request when new people want to follow you if you have a private account. So you can either approve or deny their follow. But if, say, you've had a public account for a while and you've got a following, and then you decide to make it private, you still keep all those followers. So yeah, accounts that began following you before you protected your tweets will still be able to view and interact with your protected tweets unless you block them. I'll show you how to do that a bit later. You can mark media on tweets that might be sensitive. So if there's sometimes, I'm just thinking like if there's a terrorist attack or something like that, that will trend on Twitter. And if there's awful images, that they can sensitize like images on there too. That's something you can do through the kind of privacy settings there. You can add location info to tweets, which was what we were just talking about earlier. You can control the content you see. So I think, Mitch, that's kind of where you can change those topics and interests and search settings that we were talking about earlier. That can be where you can modify that. You can block accounts, mute accounts. So blocking is just having no interaction at all. Muting is just turning off any activity that you won't see anything. You can mute words. So I did this when I was into Game of Thrones in the final season. I didn't want to see any tweets about it because of spoilers. So I made sure that anything Game of Thrones season 7 or whatever it was, I never got anything through of that. So on my feed, I didn't have to worry about that so much. And you can mute your notifications. You can manage your direct messages. So read receipts, you can click to have them on so people can see when you've seen a message, or you can have that off. You can filter spam messages as well, but they don't tend to come through so much on Twitter. And you can change your settings, like I said earlier, to allow anyone to message you. And then there's discoverability, which is controlling how people can find you via your phone number or your email. But these are always turned off unless you allow it. So I keep mine off all the time. So you just do that here, and that's how it's broken down. So there's data sharing and off Twitter activity. You can manage your ad preferences here. So there's quite a few promoted ads that will come through, but they'll be more personalized to maybe who you follow, who's following you potentially. This is something that I hadn't seen before, which was like your advertiser list. So that's from like advertisers who've like put together tailored audiences that are built from email lists or browsing behaviors. So this was on my own personal one. I didn't request the advertiser list, but that's obviously from my Twitter informational people that I follow that have then put me into a certain category for a particular audience to target. Kind of similar to Facebook, really. So yeah, that's quite interesting. So off Twitter activity manages how Twitter uses online activity outside of Twitter. So such as websites you visit, or so it personalizes your experience. Like I say, like as you can see on this box, it's turned off. It's something that you have to turn on if you want to have a bit more of a personalized experience. I recommend just clicking on that learn more if you want to find out a bit more about that, because I think that's quite a complicated part of Twitter. But like I say, it's turned off, so you don't you're not opted into it already. And also that's the same with data sharing with business partners. So you can select to allow your information to be shared. Again, it's default, it's turned off, but like I say, click on that learn more button to really find out a bit more about that. So we just talked about location information, so you can change that here. You can personalize places you visited, where your location is based, and you can add a location option to your tweets if your location is switched on. So I recommend, in terms of privacy, if you want to find out more, the Privacy Center is a really good place to start. So you just go to like the click on the more, click on settings, and you'll be able to click onto this side here, and that should answer all your questions. But they're quite good at breaking down everything for you to understand and manage. So I thought I'd give you some extra tips and tricks for Twitter. Scheduling. Unlike Facebook, you can schedule your own tweets. So on Facebook, you can only schedule if you're a business, but you can schedule on Twitter, but only if you're using a web browser. I tried having a look at my mobile and I couldn't schedule on there. So it's only if you've got desktop. So as you saw earlier, we had that little calendar symbol, and that's where you could schedule your tweet for a particular time and day. So yeah, you don't have to be a business. You can schedule on Twitter itself. And then there is Twitter's own platform called TweetDeck, which some businesses use. And that's an official Twitter scheduling page. So it's not a third party one, it's an official one from them. You can just sign into Twitter on a tab and then open this tab and it will automatically sync up, or you just sign in with your Twitter credentials to use it. And you can edit your tweets for scheduling, you can add pictures. So it's really useful if you're a business, or if you know you're going to be somewhere and you want to tweet at a particular time, you can add that in too. There are other scheduling websites. For me at St. Elizabeth Hospice, we use Hootsuite, and we've got other accounts on there that we use for scheduling, like LinkedIn. But yeah, TweetDeck's the main official one. Twitter analytics is so interesting. This is where you find out about your tweets and the data behind it. So if you want to see how well your tweet is done, all you have to do is click on this graph line button. So this was a tweet I did about Strictly, and because I hashtagged it, it did quite well on impressions. So when I clicked on it, this little pop-up comes up and I see the total number of impressions. Now impressions are the amount of people that see your tweet. So this is just people scrolling, just having a look through, like just it's like flicking through a newspaper. You're not maybe reading the whole article, but you're just noting like the headline. You're like, okay, I've got that. Total engagements, that's more somebody who actually reads it, like clicks on the tweet itself, likes it, retweets it, or replies. So they actually actively do something with that tweet. And as you can see, there's a bit more information there. Another place where you can find out way more about your analytics is, again, this is an official Twitter website, analytics.twitter.com. And like TweetDeck, if you're already signed into Twitter and you put this in a new tab, it'll sync up with your account, and you can have a look at your summary. So you can have a look at how you did that month. It'll break it down into months and how many tweets you did, how many impressions, how many followers you got, who your top follower is, what your top tweet was, your top mentions, and you can come see your numbers. So this is quite good for businesses, but also, hey, if you get a viral tweet and you want to have a look at your stats, it's really interesting. So I totally recommend having a look at that. It's quite fun to look at. You can look back at your likes. So if you've thought, oh, I'll just like that tweet and maybe look at it later, or you want to show somebody a tweet that you liked that you didn't interact so much with, you just go to your profile and say your bio was up around here. And then you've got tweets and replies, media. You just click on likes and they'll all be there on your feed. Use Twitter to complain. This is like one of the best tips I can totally recommend. If you've had a bad experience with a company and you've tried emailing them and calling them and they're awful, I would use Twitter to complain. All you have to do is at them, so tagging them, and they're more likely to reply and sort out the issue, because Twitter is a public forum and they don't want bad press to go viral. Seeing good customer service can improve trust with brands and businesses. So I've used this. I'm going to show you an example. So I had a very disappointing bag of crisps from Walker's back in 2017. So I added them. So that was a kind of public reply to them, that I was disappointed, and I took a picture of it. They replied that they were sorry about that. Please DM us your contact info with the codes. So I followed them, they followed me. I was able to contact them. And then I gave them my details, and then I got some Walker's vouchers. So, you know, sometimes things work out pretty well.
I can second that. It's a great way of getting something done. We had a Dyson that they were completely ignoring emails until I tweeted something about it, and within 10 days I had a complete new Dyson.
It's amazing, isn't it?
And yeah, with airlines as well, they do not like bad publicity. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you're bound to get
powerful.
Yeah, you're bound to get a quicker reply, definitely, because they just don't want to have bad public opinion, and that's the beauty of Twitter. So yeah, highly recommend. So I thought I'd just mention how to build a following with a new account. So really, you want to follow like-minded people that, you know, if you're going to tweet about a particular subject, you probably want to follow similar people that might be interested too, because, you know, we got a notification, didn't we, when Steve liked our profile, and I had a look at his profile and I might think, oh, he sounds quite interesting, I'm going to follow him back. So make sure you follow like-minded people. Make sure you're tweeting regularly. That's really important. A redundant account won't attract new followers. If you haven't tweeted in 6 months, I'm probably not going to follow you. Engaging with tweets and trending topics will always help you to build a following. People will start to visit your profile more often, and it will show that you're really engaged and regularly tweeting. Using hashtags and @ correctly as well. Engaging posts with images and videos will always do a lot better than just a standard tweet. So it will help with engagement and interaction. And then this is more of an older term that's been used in Twitter, but I see it now and again being used, and that's Follow Fridays, or hashtag FF that people use. And quite often bigger profile people on Twitter recommend different profiles to follow on a Friday. So they might just go hashtag FF and just tag a load of people that they recommend to follow. It used to happen quite a lot in the early days of Twitter. Now and again it gets used, so that can be quite useful as well if you get mentioned in one of those. So how to report or block people. If you see a tweet that is offensive or you want to block, I just picked this random tweet when I was just looking at Bake Off stuff. So you could just literally go on this ... that's at the top of every tweet that you ever see, and then you can click block or mute, or you can flag it to Twitter. It's quite interesting. Twitter are now doing a lot more on, particularly during the American election, kind of sensitizing tweets, which Donald Trump did not like, around election fraud and things. And this is something that Twitter recently has done. It's kind of stepped in on a few profiles where they're kind of saying this is like incorrect information, or when Donald Trump was talking about mail-in ballots being fraudulent, they said there was like a link that said get the correct information about voting by mail. So that's something kind of new that started to come in with Twitter. So yeah, I thought it was quite interesting to show. That is like my big overview on Twitter. I'm very quickly going to go through Instagram like in a nutshell. So bear with me if I talk incredibly fast to get through this in time for you all. So what's Instagram? It's mobile only. You can't get it on desktop, but you can access and have a look at it, but you can't really use it. So it's on iPhone or Android. It's an entirely visual social media platform. You post photos and videos and you can caption them. It's basically got photo editing software to instantly change pictures and post right away, which I'll show you how to do. There's video sharing on posts on your feed, but mainly videos are used for Instagram stories, which is something I'll chat about in a sec. Like Twitter, you follow accounts and you build your following up. And that's through like your search bar as well. It's very similar. You get to see a bit of a pattern with these social media platforms. It can be entirely private or public. The default is public, but on Instagram, you're more likely to see a lot of private profiles as well. So yeah, it's kind of up to you how you want to use it. Followers can comment and like posts by clicking a heart or double tapping a picture and video. So it's all about likes. Who uses it? It's a bit of a younger age group compared to Twitter and Facebook. So it's for anyone age 13 or older. There's 1 billion monthly active users on it, so it's a huge platform. 71% of which are under the age of 35, and 18 to 24-year-olds are the largest of those demographics. So it's a much younger kind of platform. And there's loads of celebrities, influencers and bloggers tend to be on here, photographers as well, which are included on that. Businesses and brands use the platform too. And I've included Rupert Grint on there because he holds the record now for the quickest time to get to 1 million followers, and it was like 4 hours or something like that. He only joined Instagram about a month or so ago. So there's some high profile names on there like Beyonce as well, and that's just kind of what a feed looks like. Anything with an icon is not a photo, that tends to be a video, or this one will mean that there's multiple photos on that particular post, but it's very much a visual kind of platform. How do you set up a profile? You download the app, that's the very first thing. Create an account with your email or phone number. You create your username and your password. And then interestingly, as I mentioned last week, Facebook owns Instagram. So you'll be asked if you want to sync up your account. So you could then post a picture on Instagram and it could then potentially appear on your Facebook feed, but you can turn it off. I personally have my one off, but for some businesses, they tend to use it because it's an easier way of matching your platforms that you're posting at the same time. And if you're setting up a business account, you can actually change your settings to have a business account. So then you can access extra settings, insights and business information. So it's not just a personal account. I'm going to show you how to post because essentially this is what Instagram is. This is the bare bones of what the platform does. So you can either take a picture directly from the app, or you can capture a picture before and upload from your camera roll or your photo album. That's what I know most people do. So I've selected a bunch of flowers that my friend got me. So I just clicked on this button here on the app. They've recently changed it. This used to be at the very bottom of the screen. It's now at the top. So you just click on that plus and then it will go through to here and you pick your photo and you click next. And then you'll go to a screen to edit your picture. And this is where you can edit pictures on the go. Down here are filters that you just swipe along and you can have a bit of a play to change the filter. So it could be black and white, various different filters. And then there's also an edit button here, and that's where you can be a bit more creative, like contrast, brightness, shadows, all sorts, tilt shift. And as you can see, you can start to edit on the go. So the top icon up here, that will automatically add variants to the filter as well. So you can slide that along and it will add variants to it as well. And then you click next. And then here's where you come to your caption. And this is your caption screen. So this is where you write about your post, but really people use this especially for hashtags. So very much like Twitter, Instagram uses hashtags, kind of talking points, but really it's to see more photo content like that. So I've put, here is where I compose a caption and add hashtags to the post to gain more likes and engagement. You can add hashtags within the sentence like there, but most people put lots of hashtags, and I mean lots, at the end of a post to get the most engagement. So I've put flowers, plants, thank you, gift, friends. And as you type a hashtag, you can see the popularity of it. So that is what I've done here. So as you can see, I started typing the best flowers, and I can see the ones with like the most kind of engagement, the most kind of posts. So I think, oh, I'll probably pick that one. Same with here up with friends. You can see there's a lot more here. So that's quite a unique hashtag. So you can add those as you go along, and that will help you with your engagement. You can add your location if you want to, you don't have to. Often people use it to check in somewhere. So if you're like at a theme park, for instance, or something, you might want to like pop that into there. You can also tag people in a photograph. So there are people who've got other Instagram accounts, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. And it's really important to know with Instagram, this is one unique thing to it. Web links don't work in a caption. So if you've got a hyperlink, if you're like, oh, visit my website, it won't work in the caption. It has to go in the bio of your profile. So you'll often see on Instagram captions, people say link in the bio. So you'd have to go on the person's profile, and within that would be a link that they can click on. As you can see, I'm part of some business accounts here for work. So when I'm not posting on my own one, say I wanted to post on both St. Elizabeth Hospice and We Are Zest page, I could do that at the same time if I wanted to. And also here you can decide whether you want to post on Facebook as well, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And it's also linked with Twitter, but it doesn't tend to be as optimizing for engagement when you do that. So I'd recommend just posting to Twitter directly with a particular picture if you're going to do that. So once you've got your caption together and you've decided all your hashtags, you just click share. And this is what I did. This is an actual post I did a while back. This is how it appears on your feed. So if someone was scrolling through, this is how it would appear. The dots at the top here mean that you can edit the captions. So if I wanted to add some more hashtags or I spelt something incorrectly, I can edit that, unlike Twitter. But I can't re-edit the image. So if I decided actually I really wanted to have it looking a bit more black and white, I'd have to actually delete the whole thing and start that again. So that's essentially how you post. And as you can see in here, I tagged a few accounts in my friend's account there to say thank you. Following is really simple. It's like Twitter, you just use the search bar. You can see verified accounts with a blue tick. Anyone can view your profile and you can view theirs unless it's private. So I could click on like the NHS one and it would go through to theirs, so I can have a look at their feed before I follow, so I can get a feel for the kind of posts they put out. And as you start to develop your feed, more personalized ads will follow, like Facebook and Twitter do, but Instagram's incredibly clever with how they do their targeting. Honestly, all the Christmas stuff I'm seeing at the moment is all things I like, and I think it's definitely based on the profiles that I follow, because there's very similar things that I'm like, oh, that's definitely up my street, and I think it's from those follows and my age group as well, probably. So yeah, you may see similar content from both platforms. So what's Instagram stories? I'm going to try and do this in a nutshell. So Instagram stories are short, snappy videos or photos that disappear within 24 hours. And the origins of that are from Snapchat, which I'll talk about at the very end. So stories appear at the very top of your page when you're looking. So if you see in that GIF at the top here that I've got here, they'll appear like that in circles, and you just click on one and it'll open up. You actually will see them on Facebook as well if the accounts are synced together. So if you've ever gone onto Facebook and you're wondering what the hell this is, these are actually, they call them on Facebook just stories, but they're actually Instagram stories. So if you clicked on that, it would probably be the same content that someone's got on their Instagram feed. So that's what that is if you're ever wondering. And if you click on it, it's just a quick snapshot video. As I mentioned earlier, Twitter literally, and I mean in the last 2 weeks, I thought I'm going to have to add this into my presentation. Twitter only recently rolled out their own version of Instagram stories called Fleets. They're only viewable on mobile devices, but it's the same principle. I personally don't like it on Twitter. I go away from Instagram and go onto Twitter to get away from that kind of content. So I'm not sure how long it will last, but hey ho. And as well as seeing content from people that you follow, there's tailored adverts between those videos as well, but you can skip them. So kind of like how you would have on TV, like an advert in between things, but you can skip it along. That's it in a nutshell. I totally recommend just having a bit of a Google if you want to find out a bit more about that. Unfortunately, I don't have too much time to go into it tonight. And there's plenty of security and privacy settings. And you just do that through the menu and you get this pop up here where your settings are. And you can set up two-factor authentication, and you can receive or stop emails from Instagram when you get notifications, or accounts to follow. You can check your login activity, and you can set your account to private here. You can manage your interactions, who can comment, who can tag you, who can mention you, and you can manage who can reply to your Instagram stories, and if you want to post to Facebook. So that's all within there. So there'll be quite similar settings that you see from Facebook here as well, same kind of terminology. So here we are on my very final lot of slides. I thought I'd go into some other platforms that you may or may not be aware of. So TikTok is probably the one that's been most talked about, I think, in the last 6 months or whole year, in fact. It's a mobile-based app. It's short form videos that are 3 to 60 seconds. And they're videos that people use for singing, dancing, lip syncing is one of the biggest things. They use for education and comedy videos, and also cooking as well. So they're very quick snapshot videos. It's gained a lot of popularity during the pandemic. You might have seen an advert that Stephen Fry does a voiceover for, and he says what will you learn on TikTok? And it's a huge platform with young people. 41% of TikTok users are aged 16 to 24, and it's very popular with teens. And quite often you might see some of the videos from TikTok that are reshared on Twitter and then go viral as well on there. So it's a growing platform. I personally don't use it myself, but I do quite like seeing the content when it's shared on Twitter. So yeah, that's that. Snapchat, that's a mobile app. Again, it's really popular with young people. It's a sharing video platform, photos and messages for a short period of time. So it's where Instagram stories and Twitter's fleets is stemmed from. It's just essentially Instagram stories on that particular platform, really. And yeah, 73% of users are 18 to 24. So again, I personally don't use this one, but you know, a lot of young people use it. So if you ever had a business and you wanted to target a certain group of people, I'd recommend TikTok and Snapchat would probably be your top 2 platforms. YouTube's another social platform. You might not think of it as a social platform, but it definitely is, particularly with video sharing. It formed in 2005, around the same time as Facebook. You can view, obviously, nearly all of you would have used YouTube, so you can view without having an account. You can upload public videos, unlisted videos, which is where you can upload a video, you can have a link, send it to someone, and only someone with that link can look at it, or a private video, where it's just you to see it. And yeah, people watch silly 6 billion hours of video every month. And it's also where the term vloggers and vlog were coined. So like a blogger or a blog, people use video instead, so it's bloggers vlog. And then penultimately is Pinterest. Pinterest is a visual discovery engine for finding ideas like recipes, home, style and fashion inspiration. So effectively, you can see lots of posts that you can then use to create mood boards, essentially, to organise visual ideas and share with other people. So the most popular use that I know of, that lots of my friends have used it for, is for wedding ideas. So you type in a search for wedding and it would come up with lots of different pictures for, say, bouquets, dresses, party gear, and then you can go, oh, I quite like that, I'm going to pin that to my board, I'm going to pin that to my board. So yeah, it's like a mood board type thing. 71% of users are female, and it's much more of middle-aged users as well that have that one. And then finally, I've got LinkedIn, which some of you might be on. It's very much a business professional platform. So how you interact on LinkedIn will be quite different to how you might be on Facebook. You can upload your CV to your profile where you work. You can share statuses with other professionals. It's great for connecting with networks with other colleagues, but also people you might meet at conferences or work events. There's lots of business-to-business marketing that happens there. You can find jobs on the platform as well, and you can apply through LinkedIn. Interestingly, you get a notification when people view your profile and you can see who is looking, and vice versa. So if you stalk someone on their LinkedIn, they'll know because they can see you. So it's not like Facebook where you can just have a search for one of your friends and have a look at their profile. On LinkedIn, you can do that, but they'll know about it. And that's about it. Hopefully I've just about got to 9 o'clock tonight. So are there any questions at all? I'm very happy to take any. No,
Doesn't
okay.
sound like it, Helena. Can I just say once again, I'm exhausted. I have my list, and we'll be going off to check my privacy and safety settings yet again.
Yeah, I know. I did the same last week.
Oh, Helena, thank you.
That's okay. And Mike, I'll send you all those details for that profile, and then that is yours to go. And
Fantastic.
I'll leave that with you.
Use it.
Yeah.
Can I just say, now, I don't know if we can all see this. John Morgan, I love your ears.
Oh, nice. Sorry, I just saw it.
You've taken a few wedding shots like that, Mike, over the years, haven't you?
Yes, yes. So sorry, just to return to sensible things. Does anybody have any questions? Jan, you're waving your hand.
Yes, I have to say, I hope that these two things last week and this would make me feel confident about using these things. In fact, I'm terrified. There's no way that I'm going to use any of them, I think, except with the possibly things like, well, YouTube and so I'm already using. But as a professional historian, what concerns me is all this just disappears into the ether. So is there any way that any of it is stored that, if in say 20 years time, you wanted to look back and see what you were interested in, what you were, tweeting with people about, so will you be able to do that, or does it just all go?
So it doesn't all completely go. So whatever you tweet will always be on your profile. So if you personally wanted to have a look at your timeline, your tweets, that will always be there. If you wanted to then look at a particular subject, say any historical subject or anything like that you're interested in, and you want to see what the topic of conversation was, I would use the hashtags. Would be quite a good way to search and find out what people were tweeting about on that particular subject. But as well as hashtags, you can just type in phrases and words as well, that will come up with whatever tweet somebody said about that particular subject.